This week on the Jock and Nerd podcast, we've got a listener-sponsored review of the classic 80s Sylvester Stallone action thriller, Cobra.
Geek Boner.
Plus, Sony finds it's Kraven the Hunter as the studio teases their plan for Spider-Man's future. Hollywood enjoys a healthy box office weekend. Amazon buys MGM and a whole bunch more, all in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Monday, May 31st, 2021.
Could I sing the song? Jockin' and nerdin'. Spoiler alert. Jock and nerdin'. That's the theme song. I sang it.
Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up. Jockin', we nerd it. We funny, disturb it. We jockin', we nerd it. We spoiler alert. Oh yeah!
Yes. Hello, listener, and welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast, where we give you comic book and superhero, TV and movie news reviews, and whatever we choose.
Jock and Nerd.
My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
And joining us, listener, he's a loose cannon. He takes no prisoners, and he likes to slice his sandwiches with really large scissors. It's Marion Rugbready, but we call him Rug Boy.
Gonorrhea is the disease, and I'm the cure.
Rugbready is the cure to chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis.
Okay.
I just use urine.
Urine is sterile.
It's sterile.
Yeah.
It works in everything.
You got a jellyfish thing? You just pee on it.
You ever see those people, like those conspiracy people that like just say, yeah, you pee, it does everything.
Well,
that's what I do.
Why don't you? In front of me, right here. Do it.
Use it as an aftershave.
Kevin Costner did it in Waterworld. Seemed to work out fine for him. Yeah.
Do you ever drink your pee?
No. Well, did you think I had? I could have said yes.
What about cutting your food with scissors?
Yeah, no, that's weird.
Only my pizza.
Yeah, pizza for sure.
Yeah.
Just
and you keep the hot sauce in a carton of eggs.
Yeah, is that where it was? Is that what that was? We'll get into that later, listener, in this strange movie. But for now, a couple of geek news things to go over. Let's do it.
The Jock and Nerd podcast.
I already know that Cobretti would hate the fact that we've paired up his movie with all this geek knowledge and news.
Yes.
He'd be like, what is this?
You'd be like, you nerds are a disease.
Yeah.
I'm the cure.
He'd
Go ahead.
rip Imran's shirt in half.
It'd be like, clean up your ass hair.
His tits are just hanging out of his fucking button down.
Oh, my man
I
boobs.
think in Imran's case, he would just rip off Imran's pants.
Yeah.
And you could see his dick dangle.
I would, if I ran into Cobretti, I would pee my pants immediately.
And for some reason, his dick is taped up against his leg like a microphone.
Oh my God, you're spoiling the whole review. This is the best part of Cobra. We'll get to that. But first, here's some more kind of what the fuck is happening news. Sony Pictures this week announced the last person, a guy that wasn't even on the radar, to play Kraven the Hunter in their spinoff, Aaron Taylor Johnson, has been cast as Kraven the Hunter.
Oh, shit.
Are you sure you're reading this right? Is it Kevin the Hunter? Or like, or it's Kraven, right?
Kraven,
Okay.
yes. It's not Kevin McAllister the Hunter. Kevin, if that was the case,
He'd make a great Kevin the Hunter,
Right.
but like a Kraven, I don't know.
Yeah, this was a strange pick. So other details, they have give this movie a date tentatively scheduled to arrive January 13, 2023. Apparently he has signed on for multiple films, so we may see him pop up in other places. The movie is being directed by J.C. Chandor, who had directed Triple Frontier, which is
I like that movie.
It's not a bad movie. It's on Netflix with Batflick, and A Most Violent Year is the other movie he directed. So Anthony, reaction.
Yes.
Is this a big fuck
That's
up?
a big fuck up right there.
I never would have even thought of this Aaron Taylor Johnson for Kraven.
Yeah, I mean, they were going after a bunch of big names.
Keanu.
And Aaron Taylor Johnson, what do I think of him? You know, I the only role I've ever seen him in that I liked was Kick-Ass, the first one.
He was in Kick-Ass, both Kick-Asses.
Everything else he's been in has been just completely not memorable at all.
He was in Godzilla.
Yeah, that was not a very memorable role.
He is the other Pietro in the MCU.
Not very memorable at all.
Gets killed.
So I just don't really, I'm not really impressed by his work. I'm not super familiar with Craven, so I don't know how he lines up with that, but it's not a very inspiring choice, that's for sure, at least for me.
Yeah, it's
what do you
kind of
think?
milquetoast, if you ask me. It's very, very uninspired, not great. But I don't know. He's a young guy. They're trying to get a young guy in there.
Yeah.
So
He can just do his Quicksilver
a guy
accent
that they
again.
could kind of, that has like the hero angle that they could probably do the anti-hero thing with. So, you know, like, obviously I would cast somebody who was like villainous in this role, you know, like that has like that villain look, but like they're not going that way.
I mean, Carl Urban was like one of the big choices. You said Liev Schreiber. That also
I thought that he would be great.
That's not a bad pick.
He's tall as fuck and like he's intimidating.
But however, it can't be argued that like these Sony Universe of Marvel characters like Venom and Morbius and Kraven, they're like these lower tier characters that kind of on one hand deserve like a Tom Hardy and a Jared Leto and Aaron Taylor Johnson, but there's no reason you can't elevate it with someone who is really good in the role.
Jared Leto did win. I think he won an Oscar, right?
He's been good in things.
And Tom Hardy's a good actor.
Tom Hardy has been good in things.
Yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson's an interesting. Nah, it's not that interesting of a choice. That's
well,
what it is
it's
for me.
transparent why they're doing it, right? So
Well, and is he going to be Craven and Pietro and Quicksilver? I don't know. There's some details from this article I want to get into from Variety. But listener, first, let us know what you thought of this pick. Actually, a lot of our Facebook group members did let us know that they did not.
lame.
They were like, what the fuck? It's called Jock and Nerd Nation is our Facebook group. It's a closed group just for you, just for us listeners. Come on in. The water's fine. Join us. So I wanted to talk about this article from Variety titled, we got a bunch of Spider-Man news, so I got really good Geek Boner.
Geek Boner.
Will Spider-Man ever connect with Sony's other Marvel movies? And it's an interview with the Sony Pictures Motion Picture president, Sanford Panich. A lot of interesting details in this article. The first one is they picked Aaron Taylor Johnson because they didn't know, first of all, that he was in the MCU, right? They had to look that up. They saw him in the dailies for this movie that's shooting right now called Bullet Train. They were impressed with what he was doing in Bullet Train and gave him this role. Have you heard about this movie, Bullet Train? It sounds kind of fucking cool.
Is it about a bullet train?
It is about a bullet train.
Wow, good naming.
However, it's directed by David Leitch. So you got John Wick directing.
Oh shit.
Aboard this bullet train are 5 assassins, and they all have separate missions that may or may not have something in common on the bullet train. This movie starring Zazie Beetz, Hiroyuki Sanada, again, who we just saw in Mortal Kombat. And what was the other thing we just talked about? He was in that too.
Army of the Dead.
Oh, yeah. He's in Army of the Dead. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brad Pitt, Sandra Bullock, Brian Tyree Henry, Michael Shannon, Logan Lerman are in this movie, and Bad Bunny for some reason. What? Is in Bullet Train, but this movie sounds crazy. Like, it sounds like a great action movie.
This actually sounds like
Right?
it'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why he got picked, because they saw him in this, and they had to look him up because they didn't know. So I guess he can be both things. But really what this article talks about is how apparently this dude, Sanford Panich, has a plan to merge the MCU Spider-Man universe and the Sony universe of Marvel
Geek Boner.
characters. Spider-Verse. And he's saying we could see something as soon as like Venom 2, but definitely the quote is after Spider-Man No Way Home, even more will be revealed of our plan and where we are heading. This is kind of exciting because we all know it's the worst kept secret that all these people from all the Sony movies are going to be in Spider-Man.
It's going to be some kind of multiverse deal.
Yeah, what do you think about that? That as soon as this is it, like this is the last movie in their deal with Tom Holland, their shared deal, so they're going to have to renegotiate. He says this Craven is also a piece of this puzzle with their plan moving forward. Then he talks about trying to do a Sinister Six movie. There's another crazy rumor. But what do you think? Is this too much for one movie, Spider-Man No Way Home, to do all this shit and then give us a plausible reason how Tom Holland can go between the MCU universe and the Sony universe?
I don't know. I just don't know how it works out for Sony. Like, so basically, Sony and Marvel don't have a deal to make any more movies with Spider-Man in it.
Not with Tom Holland, live action, not after this last movie.
So you would infer that Tom Holland would have to end up in the Sony movies. Well, how do they do that? They haven't established any Spider-Man character in that universe. And if he's coming in from another universe to go there, why would he do that? So that's the thing that I'm kind of spinning on my mind. That he doesn't exist in this universe yet, or we don't know that he exists in that universe.
Well, there was that button for whenever Morbius comes out where what's his face? What's that guy's name?
Oh, Michael Keaton as Vulture.
Michael Keaton as Vulture shows up in that button screen.
Yes.
At the end of the teaser for Morbius. So,
and in that teaser, you see a poster of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man on the wall, which is even more confusing. So, this is all very crazy and exciting. We should have a trailer in the next few weeks. We're about 6 months out.
Do you think they're going to recast Spider-Man? And it's not Tom Holland.
Whoa!
I don't think so.
What?
I'm still also of the mindset that I will believe. I don't know that they're going to necessarily be able to connect everything with the MCU. This
is a lot to connect.
I still think that they might come to a deal with the MCU to continue having them make the Spider-Man movie.
I'm expecting a Timothy Chalamet announcement any day.
Oh, no, don't do it. Timothy Chalamet, your next Spider-Man. No, Kevin. So Panich says he has a good relationship with Feige. Feige needs to re-up this deal, even though they're just production partners, to keep Spider-Man in the MCU. But at some point, they're going to have to let this Tom Holland Spider-Man show up in these Venom, in these weird Sony movies. They're going to have to. It's going to be, because here is another crazy rumor. The Jeff Snyder podcast, Snyder Cut, he reports that he's heard that William Dafoe's Norman Osborn Green Goblin is coming back and will be the main villain
Geek Boner
of the movie. Shit. And he is going to bring together the Sinister Six, which
movie?
No Way Home, Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
So if you have William Dafoe Green Goblin, you can add Alfred Molina Doc Ock, you have Jamie Foxx Electro, you have Mysterio, you have the Vulture, you have the Sandman, you have the Rhino, you have the Lizard.
Is that 6?
That's more than 6. There's
That's
way too many people. Yeah. So, and I mean, do Venom and these other people play?
I don't think all those people are in this movie. I have my doubts.
Dude, if by the end of this they can set up a Sinister Six and they've set up a portal where now Tom Holland is stuck in the it's going to be, this is way too much.
This is so ass backwards.
A little bit. It is.
Because you can have a Spider-Verse because Spider-Man is so dense with characters.
900
But to
characters.
do it without Spider-Man anchoring the whole thing from the get is just so weird. And they're backdooring it in, and it just seems it's very
strange.
awkward.
No, it's very clunky. They pulled off a Venom movie without Spider-Man. They're going to pull off a Morbius movie. They're going to have to hint at the other Spider-Man as we see the Vulture. Craven, you got to have a Spider-Man. Otherwise, what's the point of watching a goddamn Craven movie if he's not hunting Spider-Man?
I'm up for some crazy shit, but I just don't know how it's going to land. That's all.
Well, we also did just see a Venom movie without Spider-Man, which doesn't seem feasible before that Venom movie came out because the whole origin of Venom is tied to Spider-Man.
Yeah. So how are you going to backdoor Spider-Man back into these movies?
They're going to do something with Craven that doesn't involve Spider-Man.
Jesus. But eventually, these people's paths are going to have to cross. I think there's going to be something in Venom 2 and something more in Morbius. And I think something substantial in No Way Home. According to the rumor on the Snyder Cut rumor, the No Way Home is referring to the villains that they are stuck not in their universe. They can't get home, and not Spider-Man himself getting stuck somewhere. I don't know.
But that would mean that they'd have to to progress in that storyline, they'd have to negotiate another deal with Marvel and Sony.
No,
No,
Sony can then make Sinister Six movies and spin that off. You know?
Oh, so they would destroy all of their universes and keep that Marvel universe
I
that
don't
they
know.
made?
No,
That seems very.
I think you need to keep the two universes and they collide in one movie and then they come back apart, but now things can go back and forth. I don't know. That's as much heads or tails as I could make of it.
It seems dumb.
This is gonna, and it's Sony, so you know.
Yeah, that's the
how they
thing. Is
handle
it's just for me. It
things.
seems like Sony. I just don't completely trust the people over at Sony because they have no track record right now of doing anything even remotely like this that would be coherent and make
they
sense
don't.
and like make movies that consistently are good.
Yeah, this is an experiment for them as much as anything. Okay, let's move from a studio that may or may not have a plan for Spider-Man moving forward to a whole franchise that had no plan when making a trilogy. Of course, I'm talking about Star Wars. Anthony, you shared this interesting article from Collider where they interviewed J.J. Abrams. What did he say in this interview looking back on the Star Wars?
To paraphrase, we had no plan.
What the fuck? What?
What they were trying to do was they were trying to hire. They wanted J.J. Abrams, and then they wanted some up and coming directors. They had Rian Johnson, and then they had Colin Trevorrow. And their whole thought was similar to what DC was kind of going to do with the DCEU, and then that didn't really work out. Where it's like, get these talented directors and just have them hand the baton over, and let them do what they want with the IP. And either it can be a rousing success or just a complete failure. And to a lot of Star Wars fans, it was a failure.
Fuck's sake, man, you're amateur.
How can you, whether you're calling this the new trilogy, you know what the other 6 movies are. They're connected trilogies. To go in and just think that these guys are going to talk to each other.
Like, you could do that on a Rogue One.
Yeah.
Sure.
Worked
on
out
a Han
great.
Solo, sure. Like a one-off movie, but like not in a continuity. That's just so stupid.
I mean, the story, the way it played out is still crazy because Abrams, after making the first one, did not expect at all to come back and make another one. And then fucking the guy undoes everything, makes a pretty, like one of the more interesting movies out of the 3, Rian Johnson. And then Abrams has to like stitch all this crap back together and it's just a mess and it's not good.
He had to clean up. He basically had to restart the movie from where he thought he had left it off in the first one and just wash out the second one.
So you're left with like a 2 movies that have one story and then one off of a thing what's supposed to be a trilogy. But I just think it's crazy that he's now publicly like, yeah, you know what? We probably should have a plan. This is something like, what the fuck? Really? Do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, not only was it a trilogy that, you know, you should probably have an overarching idea of where it is and where it's going, but you also had 6 films prior to that like had built a foundation, and there was a lot of obvious investment in where that story was going and
the characters.
How this connects to this. Yeah. So
I mean, it reminds me of the clusterfuck that happened
not good
to Lost, which he produced Lost, and kind of the same thing happened. Like they had one ending and then they had to keep going, and then they just fucking threw everything out the window and fucked up the whole
Let me ask you guys this, because we all kind of agree that this was obviously a bad idea. Even they agree it was bad. But is there ever any point, because I've seen this now fail twice with Star Wars and with DCEU, where it's just like, let the director do what they want with the IP, and we'll just figure it out after they're done with it. Like, is that something that could work in big franchise filmmaking?
Well,
I think only in certain situations. I think when you have a one-off, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like, you're
the
gonna,
Joker.
Yeah, when you're doing a one-off or you're doing something that you're not planning on starting a franchise, you're just seeing like you're going to do it and test the waters and see if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it's not like interrupting any other continuity or anything like that. You can do that because like you're starting at ground zero. But if you're coming into something or you're trying to be part of a continuity of especially of different things that cross over, you got to have a plan a little bit. You got to have some kind of control.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Marvel's doing.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it does limit the directors a lot. And you could see that they're really crafting the story, and the directors are just coming in to add flavor, where they can't really change the whole direction of the movie. So I don't know. I think that you have to have some kind of rails. You have to have guidelines that they have to play by, and you don't have to be like, I think Marvel's doing it too much.
They're a little extreme the other way.
Because like we're always talking about these things in these extremes, but there's always these nuances, there's gray areas here where you can be like, okay, we're gonna have this much oversight. Yeah, you're gonna have this much room to play around, and we want to have a different feel here. You can kind of go in this direction a little more than that to different. Like let's go into a horror direction here. Kind of play that up. Use what you can in a PG-13. Max it out, and that could be fun. But Marvel, I don't think Marvel even does that. I think they have everything figured out before they get. So Star Wars, though, being this huge franchise that has in continuity all of these books and all this canon and all this stuff.
You have to have a plan getting into this.
To tell a director they could do whatever they want, that's pretty foolish.
Yeah.
It's like you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear that Rian Johnson looked at the first film and went, I'm not interested in anything you did, JJ, so yep.
Can I undo this? Do you mind if I undo all of this? Thank you.
And then JJ had to come back and be like, I'm not interested in anything you just did, Rian Johnson, so I'm going to have to undo all that. I'm very interested to see what would have happened if Colin Trevorrow
if he got to do the third.
Because it's clear he's not that great of a director.
Yeah. But it may have been interesting to see a third person try to tackle this and clean it up, in a whole nother way.
Well, it's also clear, like Star Wars, in the beginning of the new era of Star Wars, let's say, we talked about this earlier, but they didn't obviously have a plan, but they also were very indecisive on directors. They had Colin Trevorrow at one point was part of it. Josh Trank was part of it. The Benioff and Weiss were part of it. I think, what was it? Han Solo, that movie had...
Yes, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they got fired after they shot the whole movie.
Right. Even, what's his name? Gareth Edwards.
Yeah, they fucked with his ending.
They fucked with his movie for Rogue
the
One.
Ending.
So, not a lot of confidence in the directors in the beginning.
And yet Kathleen Kennedy continues to just be in charge of this whole thing.
Well, you know why? Because they made The Mandalorian and everything.
Well, I think that's the thing is I think, Favreau would have been a great pick to handle it, but I'm glad he didn't take it because then we wouldn't have had The Mandalorian. And really, this is what they need to do now. It's stuff like The Mandalorian, but Star Wars.
Even at Marvel, even in the Marvel universe, Marvel Comics or DC Comics, there is an editor-in-chief.
Yeah.
And they round up all the editors and say, look, this is what we're doing. They have a board meeting. They sit down and they go, hey, this is what we can do. This is what we can't do. And then they pitch stuff. And then the editor has to say yay or nay. They can't just be like, yeah, just do it. Unless they have complete faith in something. And usually you don't get an absolute run of stuff unless you've proven that you understand the setup. You understand the whole way the ecosystem works and what works.
You could have gotten 3 awesome directors had you first initially just sat down and mapped out the 3 movies. Here's the arc. Here's where this one goes. Here's where this one goes. Here's where everything ends. Here's that we write it. Now just follow this fucking plan. That's why they call it a plan. Because you have to plan it out. You talk about the Joker. By the way, they are making a sequel to the Joker. Todd Phillips reportedly co-writing.
Wow.
A thing that probably shouldn't be made. We need a sequel to the Joker. I don't know.
Oh, really? They're going to make a second movie
They're going to make a sequel to the Joker. So It doesn't matter. You get in and you think you're going to make one movie and it's never just one movie.
Well, that's supply and demand. That's a different story.
Yeah.
But it was clear that they were making. Obviously, we all knew. They were making
an Elseworld. I'm
talking about Star Wars.
Oh yeah, yes, you knew. You had titles
because it's part of the package.
Yes,
the package is a trilogy.
It still makes no sense. It's so confounding how they went in with that.
Like I said, though, I feel like Star Wars after the Mandalorian 2 seasons is now reborn again.
It is,
and everything's just kind of been like, let's just forget about that.
We forgive you.
Now we're doing it right. Now we know what we're doing.
Listen, if I don't see any of those characters again, it's fine. I like where it's going. Give me the Book of Boba Fett and all that other shit. So, you guys, I've noticed outside for the first time in 14 months, things seem normal. Has anybody else noticed this? How you feel?
I left the house without a mask today, but I forgot.
Shit.
And I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
I was going to say the same thing. I was out yesterday.
Really?
And I was actually out all weekend, but I was out yesterday, and for the first time, not only did I notice like you could walk into the place without a mask, but even the servers were walking around without masks. Yeah,
Well,
they were like,
wow.
whatever. I mean, technically, if you're
Yeah.
vaccinated, you don't have to
They
wear the
said
mask.
you don't gotta wear it.
Unless you're in a private place that requires it.
Does it work if you're spayed?
Neutered, maybe. Spayed?
Okay.
Spade?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never was vaccinated, but I was spayed and
But he
neutered.
has no balls, or he has
Yeah.
no reproductive organ. Well, the reason I bring this up is because the movie theaters are also all in on this no mask deal. AMC, Regal, Cinemark have announced they will no longer require fully vaccinated guests to wear face masks. How do you enforce this?
Bars haven't really been.
No.
They'll just ask you. Some have asked for a card, but most of the time they just ask you, or it just is kind of like, don't wear it if you don't want to.
Okay. Well, it seems to be working. It seems to be helping, as in the box office this weekend seemed to come back to a roar. A Quiet Place Part 2, released over Memorial Day weekend, made $57 million.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
Which is the pandemic record. And in fact, this movie was estimated pre-pandemic to open to about $60 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So this thing seems to be coming back. Box office, it's 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Also, probably doesn't hurt. And then I think in 45 days you'll be able to stream it at home, which is probably when I'll see it. I don't know.
A Quiet Place.
It's quiet. Shh. Do you know in that first movie there was a great infographic? There's 83 seconds of dialogue in the whole first movie. Apparently, it's very quiet. It is actually a very quiet movie. It's a good movie.
I haven't seen the first one.
It's a good movie.
It's great.
It's a good one. The second one directed by Krasinski.
I heard that they're both great.
Yeah, 90%. So, more importantly, people are going back to the theaters. Cruella is also doing good. It's on Disney Premiere. I heard it's pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good news.
Good to see things bouncing back. Godzilla, don't forget who brought it back.
It all started with Godzilla
King.
versus Kong. That's right.
That's right.
Listener,
Even if all of Bilatti's coworkers and his aunt's best friend's
all thought the movie was shit.
stepson thought it was shit,
Yo,
it still brought back
my
the movie.
hairdresser's dog walker told me to tell you this movie sucks. What do you
Hey,
got
wait a
to say
minute.
about that?
I heard that it's about to cross 98
what?
million.
Oh, what is? Let's look up
It's like 90. It's at 98 million. So if it crosses 100 million, that's the biggest
domestic.
domestic, I think. Cume, because 90 was in 2014,
God,
and
it's at $98 million domestically. Godzilla versus
What's
Kong,
it worldwide?
$435 million.
Good.
Not bad.
And it
at
opened
all.
opened with very limited capacity, and COVID was still.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a thing, but it's
they didn't
still-
make the
it was a big-
announcement. They didn't announce that it was over
Yeah.
yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's over.
Now that the CDC is like, it's done. Everybody's fucking out, doing shit in crowds and groups. Pack them in, people. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But listener, look, if it's nice out, you're going out. I need you to support the show, show your love, buy some swag from our TeePublic shop. Visit jockandnerd.com/shop, where we have tons of great designs that you can put on a t-shirt or a cell phone cover or a pillow or a tote bag or a hoodie. If you buy something, there's always sales. Send us a photo, post it to the Facebook group, which is something our awesome listener and pod buddy Jamie Robinson, who hosts the podcast Mr. Throwback Thursday, did a picture of himself wearing the strap yourselves in, you fucks. It's spoiler time.
Hey,
Oh,
my
yeah.
face is on that one.
There's a swear on the shirt, and I was like, are people going to buy this? It says fuck on there. It's tiny, but I think it looks great.
It's a
great,
small fuck,
It's a
yeah.
small fuck, and it says spoiler time. Jamie, thank you so much for buying the shirt, wearing it out in public without being embarrassed. The Brug Boy is on your chest there.
Yeah.
Last thing in the news, just to follow up from last week, Amazon did indeed buy MGM Studios for a final price of $8.45 billion.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Jeff Bezos' lunch money for a week, basically.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they're going to own James Bond, Tomb Raider, Stargates. He did say one interesting thing when they announced this. He said the real value of this, obviously, is the treasure trove of IP. You know, they need to bulk up their fucking catalog.
Why, yes.
But that said, they plan to reimagine and develop old IP from MGM, meaning could we see like a James Bond TV series, a RoboCop TV series, any of these old IPs that are still kind of hanging out? Could you see it reinvented on an Amazon show? That's kind of exciting.
It could be cool. I mean, RoboCop, I don't know, I should probably leave that alone, but
Tomb Raider TV show they could do.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just gives them more things that have already a vested interest in some degree or form that they can reimagine alongside all the old IP that you can now, a back catalog that
they got stuff to watch now. Young 007 TV show could be, it's a little more relevant than the young Alfred Pennyworth show on Epix. I'm like, wow, who cares about Alfred before? But
nobody, obviously, because no one talks about that.
No, it's still on. I think there's like couple seasons.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
But a young 007 would be kind of, what was he like as a teenager? Still drinking martinis, underage? I want to know.
I want to know.
But they have, you could bring back the Pink Panther. Great Peter Falk in the Pink Panther. That could be that could be a great mystery detective farce. Man, they got a lot of things. So it has been bought, it's purchased, and this is the name of the game, is buying catalog. Apple TV Plus, I'm looking at you. When are you going to buy shit? You're the only one that they're like, we just have a couple of new shows we put out. That's all. There's nothing else.
Apparently Apple TV, though, is like a lot of people that now have it. Like the stuff that's on there.
There is good shit on there. And, a lot of times you get it free because people are always buying phones and iPads, computers, and you get like a free year. But it's interesting that they're like, no, we don't need a catalog. We don't need to. We're just going to make stuff and put it out occasionally. Mythic Quest is great.
It's only like $4, so
yeah.
I guess.
I found something else good I'm going to mention in What Are We Watching? But we're going to take a break now, play some promos, and we're going to come back and talk about Lieutenant Marion Cobretti right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
What's up, everybody? This is Mr. Throwback Thursday from the Mr. Throwback Thursday podcast, along with my co-host Bill. Every Thursday, we bring you classic hip-hop.
Classic. Classic.
All the good stuff, the stuff that you forgot about, the golden age, pre-golden age, back to the original era.
For all the pioneers, I'm going way back.
Each week, we bring you hip-hop headlines, so we let you know what's going on with your favorite artists from back in the day. We bring you Wu News. We dedicate an entire segment just to the Wu-Tang Clan every week.
Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
We bring you 2 records. One is a one and done. One is a record of the week. We give you an artist of the month. We give you all the classics.
Classic.
Straight classic.
Come and check us out. Every week, we're on iTunes, Stitcher, and at MrThrowbackThursday.com. And if you remember nothing else, always remember, new school stale, old school fresh.
Do you watch Friends?
Do you watch How I Met Your Mother?
Then you should listen to How I Met Your Friends. Hi, I'm Kathleen.
And I'm Julie, and we are the ladies behind How I Met Your Friends, the podcast that explores the similarities and theories of Friends and How I Met Your Mother.
Every week, we watch an episode from each show and dive deep into the crossovers and catchphrases. So if you've ever noticed the similarities between these fantastic shows, come check out our podcast.
You can reach us on social media at How I Met Your Friends Pod, or email howimetyourfriendspod@gmail.com.
Doc and Nerd.
Listener, now is a great time to join our fan club if you've been enjoying the show. It's a way to give back, show your love, support the show. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon.
Jock and Nerd.
And as little as $3 a month gets you access to a bonus RSS feed where the shows come out early. There's exclusive bonus shows, instant movie reaction reviews. There's a sports show in season sometimes. When interesting sports are happening, they will report on it. And if you give us $10 a month on this tier, it's called the You Pick It tier.
Oh, shit.
Means you get to pick any movie you want and force us to watch it and review it. And we love doing these. Had a lot of great conversations, had turned on to a lot of good and fucking really bad movies. It's a lot of fun. We're going to do one this week right now. As a matter of fact, huge thank you to listener Johnny Gons, who this week increased his support to the You Pick It tier. Fucking nerd. Thank you, John. And he was ready with his movie. He has picked Stallone's Cobra from 1986. This is sponsored by Johnny Gons, who writes, "What up, crew? Picking some 80s big action, cheesy goodness with Sly at the height of his powers. My pops recorded Cobra off HBO, and I wore that VHS tape out. I'm pretty sure Imran and Rug Boy have seen this, but I can't wait to hear what Anthony thinks. I know there's a lot of stories on the making, the famous Phantom director, and the cocaine circus that was the Canon Group. Here's to a fun pod, boys. First, here is your spoilers to a really old movie.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
Okay, Johnny Gons, that comment is interesting because, Anthony, let's start with you. Have you seen this movie before?
Oh, I've seen this movie.
Oh, shit.
I've seen this movie before watching it again today for the show. I've probably seen it at least half a dozen times.
Holy shit, Ruggs, how many times have you seen this?
Probably this is my third viewing, yeah.
Johnny Gons, I had actually never seen this movie.
Lame.
What?
This was a Stallone 80s cult classic that escaped me, but I am so glad. Oh, boy. You made me watch this fucking strange-ass movie. This is phenomenal. You guys, this movie released almost exactly 35 years ago this week.
Oh, shit.
Really?
Yes. Right? It was like...
wow, May 23rd, 1986.
It was the Memorial Day weekend big release in 1986. I'm sure a ton of movies were coming out. On Rotten Tomatoes, this movie is standing at a solid 18%. 3.4 out of 10 on the average rating. The budget of this movie, $25 million. Kind of a big budget for 86. And it goes on to make domestically $49 million and worldwide about $160 million on the $25 million budget.
So it made money.
It made its money back and then some. Yes. Now, here's where it gets good. And if you listen to the show, you're going to, a lot of red flags should just be popping up as I say these credits. This movie, produced by the Canon Group, featuring Menachem Golan and Yoram Globus. These guys, we did What the Fuck Happened, Superman 4, Quest for Peace, same guys. But this one is one of their few co-productions with a big budget studio, meaning Warner Brothers. Helped him out on this one. This one directed George P. Cosmatos, who also directed Stallone a year ago, Rambo First Blood Part 2. He goes on to do Leviathan 1989 and Tombstone in 1993, which is a great movie. This movie is loosely based on this novel called Fair Game by Paula Gosling, which itself was turned into a movie in 1995 with the worst Baldwin, Billy Baldwin. Nobody likes Billy Baldwin. He's the shittiest Baldwin. And Cindy Crawford, who is not an actor. It is clear in that movie. This movie written by, so there's red flag number one is Canon Group, right? Screenplay by Sylvester Stallone. There's red flag number two. And cast, obviously, starring Sylvester Stallone as Marion Cobretti. Now, this is Stallone in 1986. In 1985, Stallone releases Rocky IV and Rambo Part 2, First Blood Part 2.
Geek boner shit.
Both
Huge.
Both movies. He is, and then the next year, he puts out Over the Top. But in 1985, at this point in the 80s, this is the biggest fucking action star on the planet, right? Movie also starring Bridget Nielsen as Ingrid, Rennie Santoni as Gonzalez, Andrew Robinson as Detective Monty, the great 80s scary face bad guy Brian Thompson as the serial killer night slasher. You've seen this guy's face famously in Terminator and Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Brian Thompson, right? Mm-hmm. And who else? You got David Rash, who's the photographer to the model. David Rash, hilarious dude, played Sledgehammer in the 80s. Do you remember Sledgehammer, Ruggs?
It was like a PI show,
yes,
right? It was fun. It was a comedy.
It was this parody cop TV show And this was the kind of joke. Sledgehammer, he didn't have a silencer. He had a loudener. He had a thing he put on so the bullets would be louder. That's the kind of show it was. And I loved it. And a bunch of other 80s people. Anthony, since you are so familiar with this movie, why don't you give us the quick plot of Cobra?
So it's like the 80s, obviously, in L.A., I believe. Somewhere in L.A., California. I believe L.A.
It's L.A., I think,
Yeah. And there's the string of like murders that are happening from a serial killer. And Cobretti, Marion Cobretti, an elite. He's part of the zombie squad, and he basically is the guy you call in to take out the bad people that no one can take out, and he kind of does it, below the line, beneath the books, whatever. And he is called in to protect Bridget Nielsen's character, who happens to see a murder by this guy played by Brian Thompson, who's the night slasher, and Cobretti gets himself into protecting this lady from the night slasher, and the night slasher is part of a bigger thing that is trying to throw the world into chaos, I guess. I don't know what, or just bang axes in a fucking warehouse.
Just clink axes together in a circle, really.
Axe aerobics.
Yes, that was just their exercise.
I gotta go to my axe class. Like Imran's there with his mace. They wouldn't let him in.
This is early axe throwing, early battle axe throwing. You just stood around and you clinked them together.
Imran can't get the mace high enough over his head, so he's just clinking it at his waist level.
Yes, it's a heavy mace.
Wait, you switched to like batons now, didn't you? Like, what did you
I have a
switch
steel
to?
club. Anthony saw my steel club.
I saw his steel club. He juggles them.
Yeah. 20-pound steel club. I'm juggling with my fingers. Okay, Anthony, I want to know what you remembered of this movie and then what you think of this movie after watching it again today.
I remembered before watching it today thinking that it was a very enjoyable movie.
Okay.
As I've seen it a ton as a teenager, teenager. I don't remember exact ages, but I remember thinking it was awesome back then. I also remember thinking it was like quite kind of scary.
Yeah.
Some of the scenes where the women get killed aren't as violent as I thought they were, but very good, like dramatic music, like kind of Halloween slasher film-esque filming and some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So back then, I definitely was like, this movie's kind of risque. Like it's they're killing women.
Yeah. I shouldn't be watching this.
Stallone is like gunning down just heaps of men in this gang that are clinking axes and want to take over the world, and you have Brian Thompson, who looks like the most evil person on the planet.
He's so scary.
With his weird knife that has little
studs
pointers on the grip and shit like that. So yeah, I mean, this movie was definitely fun for me back then. Watching it again, it still has like some good stuff. I mean, it's not that great of a movie. It's not as good as I remembered it being. But then again, I've seen it so many times that it was like one of those things where I was just kind of reliving some old stuff with now a 33-year-old mindset instead of a 15-year-old mindset. It's fun. It's not the best 80s movie I've ever seen, in this kind of genre. But it still has its like place, and and it's an easy watch. It's only less than hour and a half.
87 minutes, and there's a reason.
I'm more curious what you guys think, because I mean, I don't think it's aged all that well in terms of some of the stuff, but then there's things that are, like I said earlier, like some of the filming techniques and the music cues are a mix between horror slasher and then straight up 80s montage. I mean, some of it's like I feel like I'm watching like Rocky IV with some of the music cues in here. So,
okay, interesting. Ruggs, why don't you go next?
Okay.
Opening thoughts.
I remember seeing this when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I didn't remember a lot of it. And I remember I saw it again and I was like, whoa, that's not a good movie.
Yeah.
But then I've been sitting through all of these other fucking bad movies, like Frank Grillo movies and whatever. And I kind of like enjoyed the stupidity of it.
Yeah.
So then I went and watched this, and I was like, "Wow, there's so much B movie in this. This is a B movie. This is not like I remember it being like a high caliber action movie, but now that in the context of all the shit that I've seen, like this is a B movie. This is like Stallone's B movie. Like it's very strange that after Rambo and Rocky 5, these glitzy, big budget movies that this would be like the next thing to come out.
Yep, absolutely.
It feels like, I'm going to say, I compare it to my mind with Commando. Like Arnold. If you're going to go like Stallone Arnold, like this is like Commando level. Like
in between the franchise movies.
Yeah, it was like a weird, strange film. There is a huge portion of this movie missing. And I'm like,
we'll get into that, yes.
Yeah, and I felt it.
Yeah,
like,
you could tell, yes.
Like when I watched it when I was younger, I didn't know that much about films and all that stuff. I hadn't really like gotten these opinions. But now I could totally see it, and I'm like, oh, there's something definitely missing, and what the fuck's going on, and why did all of a sudden the tone change so much?
Yep.
Actually, I'm very curious about all this stuff because I don't really know.
Oh my
what
God!
we're talk
Just
about.
wait, it's incredible. Let me tell you. Here's my opening thoughts. I'm surprised I never watched this movie. I loved Rocky Rambo, especially. I had the action figures. I watched the cartoons. I mean, he had a missile launcher. He was badass. It was Reagan era machismo at its best, right? So this is a very fucking strange movie, all right? It is a weird, like, dark, it's the darkest thing I've ever seen Stallone do. You know, like you said, Anthony, it's a slasher horror film / cop exploitation, and it's also like a vanity project for Stallone, which I find really strange. But it's bleak. The editing is really bizarre. It's really sloppily made. There's tons of errors, tons of crew you can see. It's sleazy, it's cheesy, it's corny. But I kind of dug it. I watched it twice. There's something fascinating.
You watched it twice?
I watched it twice. There is something mesmerizing and fascinating about it's almost like a snuff film, but it's not. It's like a B-movie exploitation thing. Clearly a Dirty Harry ripoff.
Yeah.
I mean, he has.
That's what it felt like a little bit.
Gonzalez.
It felt like a 70s movie.
Yeah. The guy playing Gonzalez was in Dirty Harry also. Like, he literally got. Yeah. And the body count is huge, yet he cares about the sanctity of life at the same time. It's all over the place.
Well, there's also like this ongoing conversation about like Cobretti and like him being his methods, and, you know, it kind of like. I was making this connection like now, almost like it's weirdly relevant now in terms of like
I see
the role of police and how far they need to go, and like what things are actually necessary, and like that ongoing conversation they were having,
excessive
where
force.
Where there's like, we don't need you, you know, we don't need you, Cobretti. Like, you're too, like, what about the rights of all these criminals that you're deciding to kill right on the spot? Like, don't they have rights? And then, like, you know, Cobretti's obviously like it's in his viewpoint, so like you're rooting for his viewpoint. But I found that all to be like strangely still relevant, even though like I don't know if the movie was necessarily wanting you to debate Cobretti's methods. Like, I think they want you to be like, this movie is straight up 80s machismo in that sense. Like, this is 1986 one man judge, jury, executioner type thing.
I almost expected him to go, I'm the law, but he does that later.
And he does it in another movie.
He does it way later. But yeah, this is the Reagan era.
Yeah, I felt
80s.
like this was like strangely prequel Judge Dredd.
It was a little bit. He's like a vigilante. But again, Reagan era 80s, where you're rooting for the extreme cop who's can't do no wrong. Everything he does is going to be good. Look, we have to break down this opening scene.
And he's just a complete asshole. Like, he just bumps that car out of the parking spot.
Fucking
Here's
part
the
with
man's
those
shirt.
photos are great.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what's bad for your health? Me. And then do you notice when he rips the shirt, you see his fucking lapel mic taped to his chest.
Oh, shit.
The gangster. And then the next time, the dude moves his car. Hilarious. So funny. He got his respect. But, okay, you said the cop thing is relevant. Here's another thing that I found jarringly relevant. This opening scene that actually kind of efficiently sets up Cobretti's character, if you think about it. But, you know, the movie opens with this mass shooting in a grocery store, which was a popular thing in a lot of movies. You saw this. But, like, this year, there's been, like, so many mass shootings every fucking day on CNN. I was like, oh, this is eerie. Another topical thing. But then when it starts, this dude, he's either a really bad shot or he just hates groceries.
Oh,
I don't know which one it is, because he's just shooting at the potato chips and the fucking watermelons, right? And he eventually shoots a guy, but he's literally shooting at groceries. And then hilariously, the SWAT team and the news helicopters are there immediately, instantly, in like 1 second.
You know what I found strange too? Not just about that opening scene, but just a lot of the different stuff. Like the movie has a huge body count. There's a guy that's the night slasher that's killing women.
Yeah.
And yet, like, it's strangely not gory at all.
No,
like
they
there's
neutered
no
it.
blood
Yeah.
in terms of like the gunshot stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's some stuff, but very rarely do you see like blood.
No.
Other than like the end scene, you see some of the dead bodies all cut up, but it's like very far away. But like all those murder scenes, I was expecting like, I don't know, just a little more oomph. And like some of the beginning scene where he shoots the guy, it's like no blood.
Yeah,
the guy just like falls into a Christmas tree.
And shoots. Oh yeah, there's no blood there. But then when the guy's shooting the groceries, like all the cranberry juice is exploding. Also, if you notice in the night slasher scenes, the murder scenes, there's a lot of slow-mo and weird editing right about the time when the person's about to be killed.
I actually found that as a kid
scarier.
Found that as a kid very scary. Even now, I kind of appreciated what they were going for.
Yeah, but this was accidental intention of making them seem even more mysterious. I'll get into that. But wait, we got to go back to the beginning because he fucking shows up with these dark-ass aviator glasses and the matchstick in his mouth in his fucking... what is that car? It's a
1950 Mercury
custom, and that was actually his car. The studio made stunt doubles to blow up, but he rolls up, and first of all, these glasses are so dark you can see a fucking cameraman and a boom arm reflected in his glasses.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't
in the
notice.
beginning, and when he's in the grocery store, I'm like, how the fuck can you see anything, Cobra? These are dark ass glasses. I love when he stops and he swigs a Coors. Like, this ain't no thing. I'm gonna take this. Let me have a beer. Real
I like
quick.
when he gets on the thing and he tells the guy he's a bad shot.
Yes, he's like, "Oh, you're a lousy shot."
He's antagonizing him.
And then my favorite line is in the beginning of this movie where the guy's like, "I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna blow up this whole place," and he just goes, "Go ahead. I don't shop here." It's so fucking good. That's the best line ever. And then he stabs him and shoots him, and then he twirls a semi-automatic handgun like it's a goddamn revolver. That thing would have went off and shot him in the face.
Yeah,
you can't twirl the handgun.
Well, come on,
No.
it's the 80s.
It is the 80s. I'm just saying. You can't.
But the bigger thing for me was like he shoots that guy.
Yeah.
That guy was holding a grenade or some sort of
he
bomb.
had
And, like if that would have fell on the ground, that would have blown the whole place. And he just didn't. He took
didn't
time
care.
to twirl his fucking gun.
That pipe
around
bomb
first.
could have had a dead man switch. He didn't know. The minute he lets go, it could have went off. He doesn't know. He doesn't give a fuck. He is Cobra.
Exactly.
What else is great? Yeah, let's talk about the pizza scene. Why does he pull a slice of pizza in his?
So he goes home to. This is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So the guy that's partner. What is his name? Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Like he's into sweets and he's constantly arguing with this guy about how he's got a terrible diet and he's got to eat healthy. What does he do? The first thing he goes home, he gets a slice of pizza. But I guess he's healthy because he only cuts off the tip with a scissor.
With a scissors and eats it while he's.
By the way, he never takes off his fucking leather gloves. Those things are on the whole time.
Oh, really?
He's
The
doing
whole
this.
movie? He does take off the glasses. He doesn't take off the gloves.
Never takes the gloves
And it
off.
looked like the gun cleaning kit and the pizza was in the freezer and not the fridge. That was also confusing.
Eating the pizza with the scissors
it's amazing.
is all time.
Amazing.
All time with the hot sauce in the milk or in the egg carton.
In the egg carton with the
that he doesn't use. I don't think he even used the hot sauce.
He was cleaning. That was like his gun cleaning kit and the hot sauce.
I thought it was hot sauce.
It wasn't hot sauce. He was cleaning his gut.
Yeah, he has like his gun cleaning stuff in there.
And it looks like he like lives in like a studio that he's just transformed into a crime lab. A crime lab.
Yes, yeah. And the fucking 80s sax music is amazing. Like the softcore porn music is so good. Okay, let's move on to more inexplicable shit where the scene where he's going to shake down, the street workers and people, and they're cutting that with clips of this cult clinking axes, and then they're cutting that with Brigitte Nielsen modeling with fucking robots. And I didn't even put together that girl who drove by in the scene earlier, this was the same girl in the model shoot. I'm all of a sudden it's like, why are they showing me these weird robots?
You didn't put that together?
Oh, I didn't until later.
She has short hair.
Her hair is totally different when she's doing the model shoot.
You don't recognize Bridget Nielsen in that mole on her lip?
You know, she kind of has a generic-y, like, European model look, but...
I knew exactly that whole time.
It
would have been better editing if they would have started with her hair curly and then gone to the wigs.
It confused me. I was like, oh, that's the same girl. But what? It was with the fucking robots. That made no sense.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the... it's another one of those things in this movie where they just threw it in. Or
there's some artsy shit.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And
they're going for some artsy robot
was
model.
the photographer trying to convince her to sleep with him to advance her career? Is that what was
that was
going on, right? Okay.
Definitely.
I thought so. Also, Bridget Nielsen, who was Stallone's wife at the time, they were married for 2 years, 85 to 87. She's like a foot taller than fucking Sylvester Stallone.
Doesn't matter when you're laying down, buddy.
I guess not. And you got lips. So you got the thing where, you know, the cop is a cult member also, which is kind of typical. But I thought it made it a little more interesting.
Yeah, they just did a really bad job of, like, basically Cobretti and Gonzalez are so stupid for not realizing.
All the cops
it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Well, the cops are dumb and they think it's one person, and he's like,
"Who's this woman with a scowling face that doesn't say anything?"
I know. Why
but seems to be
why does she show
in the
up
middle
and
of everything?
Want to come with us?
It only takes phone calls outside on the payphone.
How come they know where we are when this lady is with us all the time? I wonder what's happening.
Yeah, and Cobretti's like, because the scene at the hospital, that's where they realize like, oh, there's a mole.
Yeah.
So he already knows there's a mole there, and then they're hanging out with the one lady that's been assigned to them for the rest of the film and keep getting
this
attacked.
One, nah. And
come on.
no, these
pretty stupid.
Yeah, these cops are idiots. Let's talk about. Well, I wanted to talk about how he does a lot of dramatic spin moves in these action scenes. Did you notice that? It's fantastic. He just comes in and spins and strikes a pose, and then he does another spin move, strikes a pose.
Well, it's one of those where he
flare.
Everyone is just a terrible shot, and he's just out in the open.
He is
and
the
still
best shot
everybody.
and never has to reload. Did you notice that also? Every shot takes down a guy on a motorcycle.
What's the best like death scene in this whole thing? Like
well, we could be the last one. Yeah, other than the end one. This movie has a huge body count.
The best for me, it's not the best, but it's the one I recognize the most.
I have one.
Is the guy is on top of the car while Bridget Nielsen's driving. Yeah. She runs over him.
Yo, that was good. That was good.
You hear the crunch of the guy getting run over. Then it cuts to his body rolling as if he wasn't run over again into the other motorcycles. And I'm like, he would have just been smashed. He would not keep rolling underneath after that car.
Here's my favorite death. It's when they're attacking Bridget Nielsen in the garage, and that one random dude comes out, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on out here?" And they just fucking kill him. And I was like, "You idiot! You were in
just accent."
Yeah. Poor guy. I was like, that poor guy had nothing to do with this. He had a bottle of shit. He was like, "Hey, what's going on?" Whack. It was hilarious. So good. Let's talk about some of the action. The car chase scene is like it's the great old school like practical car chase stuff with just unbelievable moves that would never happen, and it's fantastic. Like, why is that road so hilly? First of all, where they're going up and down.
Oh yeah, it was like,
what is that road?
Like a bridge? Yeah, I don't know. It was so crazy.
That was so strange.
Who would build that road like that up and down so you could do these jumps off there?
I was like, the suspension on these two cars is amazing.
Yeah, I know. How are they surviving this?
And he has like a nitro boost.
Yes, the nitro boost was fantastic.
Labeled nitro.
It says nitrous.
Yeah.
Just like Knight Rider. I was like, oh, fucking like Fast and Furious nitro boost. That second floor jump garage off the garage was kind of, I mean, it was a good stunt for the time, you know.
Sure,
but then fine. The best is the spin around. He's driving, and the guy's there. He's being sandwiched. The guy in front of him, behind him, spin around, shoot a truck. That means when you shoot a truck in the 80s, it just explodes.
Explodes, yeah. You shoot it in the engine.
Spin it back around. But if you watch really closely, there's a shot. There's a cutaway shot when the truck is exploding where you see the car facing forward when it had just spun around and it was about to spin around again.
Oh, there's a lot of mistakes like that.
There's so many mistakes. So it's backwards, forwards, backwards, and then he spins around
when
again.
He crashes the car into the boat.
Oh, yeah, that's
the other car. The other car that he was chasing was crashed into the boat already.
It was sitting there, yeah, because that happened and they
edited it out. They changed it, yeah.
Also, I don't understand the motivation of this car chase, right? He's taking the girl to a safe house. Now, the guy in front of him is shooting at them because he's trying to kill the girl, but he's trying to get that guy because he needs to kill him, but they're trying to kill him. So why are they running away? Why wouldn't they just stop and get out and shoot Cobra? And I was like, this is so confusing. Who's chasing who?
It was very weirdly. It was like, wait a minute, why Cobra's now chasing them?
Yes, why are you chasing them?
Wait, do you care about the life of the girl that's in the car with you?
And they're shooting at the girl.
Yeah.
Why are you following them?
Yeah, it was very strange.
No sense.
He's like, I need to take care of this. Let's get to. I gotta
fuck
kill some
you,
people.
stay down. I'm gonna nip this in the bud.
I just think at that point he's like, they shot at me, so now I gotta fucking kill them.
He's pissed. He's
like, fuck everything.
He's sweating so much in this movie. Him and Brian Thompson are so sweaty. I love how she puts all the ketchup on her fries. That was weird.
Yeah, he was grossed out by that.
Yeah, there's
I
too
think
much
it was like
ketchup.
an analogy, like they were trying to show how much blood was about to happen.
Okay,
later.
okay. I can see that. Now, the movie, you kind of mentioned this, right? The first hour of the movie it's gritty. It's in the city. There's some, quick MTV style editing. It has a certain style. The last half hour of this movie, they leave the city and it kind of becomes just like a standard B-movie fucking action movie.
Yeah, it was like a standard shootout that you'd see like in a Dirty Harry movie or something like that.
Tons of guys on motorcycles just sliding out because they're acting like they got hit. Like there was so many of them. It was great because he never misses.
Yeah, I mean now that I think about I didn't notice that, but now that I think about it, that first half of the movie is going for it.
It's a whole different
in a lot of
dark
ways.
feel, man. It's,
where the second half is just him mowing down bodies over and over again. Like they're just after the hospital, it's just scenes set up for Cobretti to kill more guys.
That hospital scene was actually pretty good.
the hospital scene
Great.
wasn't bad. Yeah.
The hospital scene, that's like, as a kid and even now, is like there's
Scary.
some good tension in that scene.
I mean, and she's not the greatest, but it works. Brigitte Nielsen, I mean, she's not an actor.
She's not asked to really do
No,
much.
she
Just
does. She has
be
to
scared.
scream and look good.
Yeah, but it had like that slasher feel. He's clawing through the door and she has to get out, and then he's trying to get to her.
There's
So,
There's some good jump scares with the slasher guys. So climax of the movie, finally, they're in some. I don't even know how they got it. They're in some fucking foundry where there's flames and people are getting set on fire. And then hilariously, he gets the beat on the bad guy at the end. And we have just watched Cobretti murder like dozens of people. And the night slasher goes, "You're not going to shoot me. You can't do it. You're civilized." And he fucking catches him monologuing and Cobretti doesn't shoot him. You just shot all these people. What are you waiting for? And the fucking girl gets him and he has...
Well, also like the guys like the Brian Thompson's character to think like, you won't shoot me because you're
a cop.
pig.
You're a pig, right, pig?
You have these morals, and it's like, no.
He just murdered all these people. He's setting people on fire.
I know, it makes it's so dumb.
And at the end, he's literally unnecessarily setting people on fire. It's a little extreme, Cobretti. I wouldn't have gone that way. But you get the thing where he gets to hang the guy on the hook, impale him. Which, if that wasn't enough, now I'm going to set him on fire also.
That was a
burn
good
him
little
alive.
extra boost.
So,
That was a pretty epic death.
fucking crazy, yeah. That guy's screaming. It looks painful.
Looks painful. I mean, that guy's just an evil guy, so it's like deserved.
Yeah. The guy plays a great bad guy. Brian Thompson plays a great bad guy. If I see that guy in real life, I'm going to be fucking scared of him. Still, to this day.
He's a great 80s bad guy.
He is. He definitely underrated. I think people don't put him up there when you talk about 80s bad guys. Let's just go through real quickly favorite lines, starting with the opening Stallone narration is fucking wild. Where he's like, in America, there's burglary every 11 seconds, an armed robbery every 65 seconds, a violent crime every 25 seconds. And he says a murder every 24 minutes and 250 rapes a day. And apparently those statistics are way too high, even for 1986. They're just exaggerated a little bit. And of course, the classic line where he's like,
how many rapes a day?
250 rapes a day. Are you serious?
Is it really like 50 rapes?
I don't know. Look it up. I'm not Googling that. You look that up. I'm going to blow up this place. Go ahead. I don't shop here. And then, you're a disease. I'm the cure.
I'm the cure, yeah.
This is where the law stops and I start, sucker.
They didn't need sucker.
They didn't need sucker at all. And it's just a horrible
That
line.
ruins the line.
I did like when the guy's like, Cobretti, you have an attitude problem? And he's just like, yeah, but it's just a little one. It's so funny. And then, of course, he goes, you have the right to remain silent. And after spilling gasoline on the dude, lights the dude on fire. That's two people. Two people.
Which has nothing to do.
No.
Like Arnold's one-liners had everything to do, like hang around, you know, like in the guy's
Stick
hanging.
around,
You know?
you're
There's
fired.
no build up to any of these lines. They're just saying lines.
Crime is a disease.
Also, I think I forget the line, even though I just saw it today, but there's a line he says to Gonzalez about like his attitude that I thought was
there's
kind of
one
funny.
where he goes,
You're too violent.
Yeah.
No, there's one where where they're talking about the girl upstairs, and he goes, I didn't notice. And Gonzalez is like, fucking liar. And Cobra's like, hey, watch your language. You're in public for some reason. I don't know why you're correcting him.
That was a good. I was referencing the one though where he tells him he's too violent.
Oh, you're a little too violent.
You're a little too violent. Me.
And then he punches the guy out at the end. The guy's like, I would have done that.
I liked Gonzalez's character, but there was like not a ton of him in it.
No, they were just talking about junk food the whole time. He just kept lecturing him on his diet.
Yeah, he comes out of the store with like a bunch of candy bars. Like, hey, you want some of these?
All of those had to be ad-libbed. Like when they're in the hospital, he's like, you want some of this? He's got some cheese. You done with this?
Gonzalez says about the Bridget Nielsen's character. She's like, oh, I like her. She's a fellow garbage belly.
Garbage belly, because they're just eating junk food.
Yeah.
Do I want a gummy bear? It's like the whole movie, the stupid joke. Okay. Here's what the fuck happened with this movie.
Look how enthusiastic Imran is about a movie that he just saw.
I love this movie now. It's so bad.
And he's a historian now
Holy
in the
shit,
movie.
it's wild. Wait till you hear the behind the scenes. So, turns out originally Sylvester Stallone was initially cast as Axel Foley in Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, shit. Yowzers.
Okay. He took a look at the script and he goes to them and goes, what if we take out all the jokes? And this is what he wanted to do. He rewrote it, took out all the jokes, making it more darker and violent. And the studio was like, yeah, we're not going to do that, Stallone. Sorry. First of all, it's too expensive to make. He exits the project. They immediately go back to the original script, get Eddie Murphy, and make a fucking classic. So I think you have Stallone to thank.
Oh, shit.
For Eddie Murphy and Beverly Hills Cop.
Him being a huge asshole.
Yeah. Yes, just
gave
a
us Eddie
control
Murphy.
fee. So he takes this movie, wants to make it himself. This first cut of this movie is over 2 hours long. It has a lot more stuff about the night slashers and the cult.
So there is stuff missing.
There is a lot of stuff missing. The problem,
much more violent.
Much more violent. Yes, we'll get into that. But the couple of issues with this length. The first thing is Top Gun had just come out a few weeks before this movie was going to be released, and they wanted to get extra screenings in the theater to compete with Top Gun, who was doing phenomenal. So they cut this thing down. They cut out a lot of plot, character development, and Stallone basically left in anything that had to do with him and cut out anything that didn't have to do with Cobretti. So they submit.
What do you mean? Wait, he's playing.
No,
Cobretti.
he left in all the Cobretti stuff and anything that didn't have to do with him, like extra night slashers and the other characters, cut all that shit out. They submit this cut. The MPAA gives it a fucking X rating. They're like, it's too violent. We have to give it. So now they cut it down to this 87-minute runtime, which is why those murder scenes some are sped up, some are slow mode to remove all the violence to get it an R rating. We talked about Stallone's Brigitte Nielsen was his wife. He had met her filming Rocky 3.
I was just going to let me comment on that.
Yes.
That makes sense because I definitely was, when I was watching that film, like, they aren't going all the way. And I don't know if this is a stylistic choice, but I feel like they should be going all the way on some of this stuff to really really punch you that, like, look how fucking evil these people
I heard
are.
that there's a cut of this that exists somewhere.
There is there was never a official director's cut. There is a bootlegged work print that has all the X-rated stuff out there somewhere. I would kind of love to see this original.
So you talking about, is
cut.
it with the other stuff in, or just the extra violence?
It has
in?
the X-rated scenes, the uncut action sequences. It has scenes explaining the motives of the New Order gang, and it has more on the night slasher and Stalk, the girl, the mole cop.
Okay.
But in the 90s, they actually broadcast a 6-minute longer alternate version with different things that was broadcast on TV, which is interesting. I would love to see this full 2-hour violent fucking cut of this
There's
movie.
got to be a restoration of Cobra.
We need to find this because
I think Stallone doesn't like this movie either. I think he's down on it.
Despite it making money, it was considered a box office flop because of how well the Rockies and the Rambos were doing. It didn't come anywhere near that. Other interesting facts: the supporting cast extras were forbidden from talking to Stallone on set. Apparently, he would cause lots of delays on set, fooling around with Bridget Nielsen, showing off for his bodyguards. And he is kind of the actual director of this movie.
Oh, shit.
Let me explain. The director, Kostastos, or whatever, who directed this, also directed Rambo, First Blood Part 2. And apparently, this guy just let Stallone do whatever he wanted to do. And Stallone really called a lot of the shots and directed a lot of this movie. And the other guy was just around. And apparently, when Stallone wasn't around, this guy was a fucking terror to be around to work with. So Stallone's really the director, technically. Oh, here's a great one. For the Night Slasher's monologue in the lead up to the final fight, Brian Thompson did the scene with the script supervisor standing in for Stallone, who was busy watching a basketball game on TV. Couldn't be bothered. Yeah, that was his real car, 1950 Mercury. And Ruggs, originally, that song, You Got the Touch, Stan Bush from Transformers.
Oh, shit.
Written for this movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where were they going to put that?
I don't know, but I do love Angel of the City. Remember that?
I just know that there's some
montage.
Gloria Estefan in this movie, too.
There's Miami Sound Machine. There's the
I think when he's driving to the parking lot to where the Vatos are,
he's got Gloria Estefan.
Yeah.
All in all,
that music cue actually was like made me confused and think this movie was in Miami. For
well, that's a good point. But it's it's funny because it's also Christmas in LA, kind of like a Die Hard or
like a dark Christmas.
Yeah, but
movie.
it's just matter of fact Christmas. Like they don't really. Just happens to be Christmas.
I'm looking at Wikipedia and I'm seeing. I mean, some of these scenes are much more brutal.
Yeah, there was like severed hands, and you saw them actually kill people.
Well, you can see like some of there's like if you look at the movie, there's definitely some parts where they show the dead women and they're like cut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But you only like see like
afterwards.
It's like far away and it's like very brief.
Also, it's a
glimpses
very
of them.
dark movie. Like the whole movie is super dark and heavy shadow. I mean, it makes it dramatic, but also makes it hard to see things sometimes.
The thing is that Stallone wanted to create a character.
Yes.
Like I think that the Fair Game, the book that he was adapting to make this movie, he was like, okay, that's kind of boring. It's not going to really launch me as an action star. I want a franchise. So he created this character of Cobra. All right. And he created it, I guess, in an homage to like Dirty Harry and shit like that. And like, so I like that he did that creatively. I like that I don't think Fair Game does this kind of horror thing.
No, that's more like a romantic action comedy because the thing is they hook up. They hooked up in this movie, right? That's what what they alluded to.
They just kind of kiss, but then he like
stayed
stays
up all night.
Yeah,
watching for the.
Yeah, he doesn't bang her. So, but the only thing that kind of is from Fair Game is that the girl's like a hot model or whatever. That's supposedly. So he made these changes that made it kind of unique. And I like that, okay, he created this character, like this kind of like super like
dark
machismo
and edgy,
character.
Violent. Yeah.
And you have this kind of evil syndicate that he's working against. That's kind of dark. And that could have been like a whole series, a franchise. Yeah. They just fumbled the ball so badly on it.
Well, it's Cannon Group is part of it. But I agree. He was looking for another franchise. Like, Stallone, it's not enough that you're fucking Rocky and Rambo. You are ruling the 80s right now. And think about him making this movie. He would have shot this in 1985 when he thought he was the biggest shit in the world. He must have been so unbearable. The ego on this motherfucker.
Well, let me ask you something, Imran. You just saw this movie, yesterday?
Yeah.
And I feel like you've either read Wikipedia 7 times or have just become an overnight expert on everything that happened in this movie.
But there's something about him.
How are you saying he wanted to make a franchise? You just saw the movie.
No, but it's obvious. He's trying to launch another franchise with Cobra. If you look at the context of what, the historical time and when it was. Clearly, but I mean, it's, he goes on to do stuff like Cliffhanger and Demolition Man, which are like fun movies, and they're kind of like weird classic Stallone movies. But I would have loved to see more Cobretti like in this dark R-rated edgy franchise, maybe.
Yeah, I mean the movie's just cut so much that like they're really, you just don't really get a ton of time to get to know anything other than Cobra.
Yeah.
And he's just a walking caricature of the 80s.
Yes, he is.
One of the things that I was always thinking about is that the movie's called Cobra, but he doesn't drive a Cobra.
Oh, that would have been great.
Which is a much cooler car than what
he likes
his stupid Mercury.
Yeah.
And but the idea is cool. Like a guy named Cobra. That's a cool name.
Yeah.
With the matchstick and the glasses and the black and the gloves. Those are all cool things that he created there. It's just
and he's the guy that you call for the stuff that like he's literally that movie we reviewed a couple weeks ago. Nobody,
He's
right?
The
Like it's the guy
that things done.
that takes the jobs that no one wants.
Yeah, I mean,
he's the eraser.
Anthony, I did go down a rabbit hole on the internet with this movie, but
I'm amused by how much you know about a film that you hadn't seen up until yesterday.
The more I read, the more I was like, this is fucking fascinating.
Well, it's one thing that you like. I mean, being a person growing up in the 80s and to not have seen Cobra, to miss the boat on it, it's like, oh shit, like. Oh, and then the fact that now that when you're watching it, you can get all of this information that's out there that you didn't have when you were a kid when you went to see the movie. So we just took it at face value.
Yeah.
So it just gives you so much more context when you watch a film to go back and not only you can go on Letterboxd, read the reviews and see YouTube videos and Wikipedia.
Like Ruggs, you just watch Highlander again. I'm gonna watch that again. It's been years.
Well, your enthusiasm for sure makes me now want to like do a little more research because I've always taken this movie at face value. And the times I was taking it at face value, I was really enjoying it.
Yeah. No, but there are things, every time I watch a movie, there's things where I'm like, why is this like this? There's got to be a reason because it makes no sense. Usually there's some fun backstory reason.
Well, it would have been interesting to get more into like the Night Slasher and his, what is that group called?
The New Order, which is a great 80s
like
band.
what they're trying to do.
Not that.
Like that would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to see more of, like, get to know the Night Slasher maybe a little more. Although I actually kind of tend to believe like the fact that we just don't know shit about him.
I think that works.
Makes it more evil.
He makes it more scary and mysterious that you're like, this guy's just a fucking crazy serial killer for no reason.
There's definitely aspects to this movie that if you just would have fine tuned it and maybe even gone with the original script or like the original version, that this could have been something that would have been a lot more memorable than just 80s action.
I'm going to make a plea to Chad Stileski to remake this
Cobra.
movie too.
Oh,
after you do Highlander, do this because it needs.
I'm down.
This would be a great one for him.
Imagine
to do.
trying to reboot this now and dealing with the fucking.
Who would you cast as a Cobra? Would you get Stallone's ass? Wheel his ass out there, or would you get someone else?
No, I would find another guy that has the same kind of like machismo.
But it would be Cobretti's like long lost relative. I think he needs to be related.
Well, maybe a remake, but would you do? Would you make it like modern, or would you make it a throwback?
It would be in the 80s. It would be in the 80s. It would have to be.
It's addressing all the 80s machismo, but with our modern.
Do it in the 80s, yeah.
But make it a modern 80s movie. That'd be fucking fun.
It would be great to go because that would be like Cobra is like. You know, like when The Last Action Hero came out and it was like a spoof on all the tropes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And like, Arnold has like the leather jacket and the glasses and it's like, this is it. This is the guy.
Yeah.
It's like,
this is the guy.
It's the macho guy who has the car, who has the matchstick out of his mouth. Arnold had a cigar all the time, but like he has this and that. So it's like the perfect caricature to do a great 80s fucking remake.
Unlimited bullets.
Yes. Yes.
Has to protect the hot girl that he ends up just getting, even though he's like, I don't think it'd be very smart to stick with me, or some sort of line like that.
Yeah, he's got to have some code.
Yeah,
that makes no sense because he just senselessly kills people. It's just
it's the product of its time, and like, could you do that now?
And anyone that like even questions his code is automatically just a weasel and a weak person, and you should never like a person that questions a man, a macho man like that. Like that man should never be questioned.
Exactly.
I do what needs to be done.
Oh my god, I would love to
They
see a
don't
remake
make
of
those
this.
ridiculous
Yes.
macho
I
movies
like it. Like at the
anymore.
end, he just punches the
Yeah.
dude, and he's like, "No hard
No hard
feelings."
feelings. I wouldn't have done it that way.
I just read now though that dude was supposed to be the leader.
That
of
was another cut thing where Monty, the guy who in the beginning was like, "I'm against calling you in here, Cobra." He was the guy in charge of the cults.
So cult.
Yeah.
Wow. That would have been a
That would have been
That well, actually, I don't know if that would have been a huge
Out of
twist, but
nowhere.
it would have been another thing.
I just want to go to a weird basement and slam axes together.
You need 2 axes to enter this group. You have to have one for each hand, otherwise they don't let you in.
Why are they always just standing there doing it? It's like, is that their calisthenics? It's like, we have to do morning exercises. Everyone grab your axe.
If you notice too, there's like a couple guys in like suit and tie that are.
Yeah, there are.
It's
Yes.
like, did they just like go to? They went to like their office job and then had their axe in the trunk and then came over to this
Honey,
warehouse
I'll
and started clinking the
I'll be
axes.
home in time for dinner. I got my cult thing I got to do. I'll be there. Don't worry. It'll take 10 minutes. We're just clinking some axes together. They don't
And
have to do
did
anything.
they use axes at all?
Well, yeah,
They
they
did in the parking lot scene. They
Oh, okay.
axed a couple people.
Well, they said on the news that the Night Slasher uses like bludgeoning weapons. So at first I was like, they don't even use guns, just shoot them all. But then they had guns at the end. Also, those motorcycles took forever to get where they were going at the end. They just kept driving.
Yeah, they showed them too early.
Yeah, and I was like, he's going to hear them rolling up. And he waits all night. And I'm like, are they here yet? No. Then it's morning. And then they fucking show up.
Yeah, it was
Took a long
really,
time.
The editing was really
Took a
weird
long time. Okay,
at some point.
Let's rate this movie. Final thoughts. I don't know. Rank it against whatever.
What do we rank?
Stallone
against?
movies. I think Ruggs said it best when it's like a Commando. It's like Schwarzenegger's Commando. Anthony, give me a number. What would you give this movie today?
As a kid, I would have rated this like an 8.5.
Oh shit!
Or as a teenager, having watched it now, being as old as I am now, kind of seeing for what it is. The kid in me still likes it, and I do respect some of the intertwining of horror, 80s machismo action, weird or not weird, but just 80s music and cutscenes of Bridget Nielsen modeling with robots. Like all, and some of the one-liners. That being said, it's not a good movie at all. So I'm gonna just go give it a 5.5.
Oh, okay.
Slightly above average, more so because of the history I have with it and liking it as a kid.
Okay, fair enough. Ruggs, what would you give it?
I was set on a 5. Because
Fair
like
rating.
Stallone is better than this.
He is.
Right? This is like his worst, not his worst movie, but like post like super success. Like you got Stopper, My Mom Will Shoot, and Oscar, and a lot of fucking flops. You got Tango and Cash, which is pretty good.
Well, as Johnny Gonzman, this is Stallone peak powers. Stallone.
Yeah. He's the biggest
This is
star in
kind
the
of
world.
like a weird place for him to land at his peak. And so it is a B movie to me. So I give it a B movie grade. It's like, it's got a healthy budget because WB kicked in some dough, and we've seen what you can do with a low budget and with style and shit. So I feel like it could have been a much better movie. And there's the fact that the movie's, I could feel it when I was watching it, like, oh, there's shit that's missing. And then afterwards I looked it up, like, oh, there is of course.
There's lots of stuff that's missing.
So, I'm going to give it a 5 because I think that I would like to see this other cut.
Me too.
And see if it's any better. But
Me
I think
too.
at this point, it's a 5.
I'm gonna give it it's like a 5.5, 6 for me. Also, it is very strange. I mean, I think he took a risk doing this movie at the height of his popularity. It is very strange, dark role that you don't see him doing later at all. That he kind of played with here, and it didn't pay off. Obviously,
I will watch a movie like this any day of the week. By the way,
Well, here's the thing about this movie. It in the time it made some money.
Yeah.
It was destroyed by critics.
Yeah.
But if you look at like a Letterboxd and a lot of people's fondness, like this is definitely a cult classic.
It's a cult classic.
And
Absolutely.
Letterboxd is like very, very in favor of the movie. Like I think it captures it. It's everything as we discussed. The 80s is just all wrapped in terms of Cobra's character.
It's
all wrapped into this
quintessential
movie.
80s action macho dude. And it's like almost a parody of the guys he's, made famous. So it's a strange fucking movie. But I'm glad.
Like, how does this compare to Roadhouse.
Okay,
I love Roadhouse.
I
in
love
comparison.
I mean, I think I like Roadhouse more, but there is a kind of a kinship. There's something that's familiar, like Roadhouse.
There's something B-movie about Roadhouse.
Yes,
or something
absolutely.
B-movie.
Yeah, Roadhouse is better.
Roadhouse,
it's got
Roadhouse
boobs.
and Roadhouse is a little unconventional because they're like the action hero is a guy that just remakes bars.
Yes, that's great.
He's basically John Taffer of the 80s.
A good-looking John Taffer who could do Tai Chi.
Where this is
bar
much
rescue.
more conventional. It's a badass guy that works like below the line with
Lieutenant Marion Cobretti.
Right.
It's no Wolf Cop, but that's a different story. You can't even compare the Wolf Cop.
The Wolf Cop is not a part of this conversation.
But Roadhouse and Cobra,
it's better than the Wraith.
Oh, it's way better than the Wraith. Yes, absolutely. It's better than the Wraith.
It's better than a lot of movies.
Yes, not quite up to Roadhouse, but
you have Cobra is a great name. It's Stallone. Brian Thompson is an evil looking motherfucker.
He's great. And the poster is iconic. Like I remember the
Halloween sequence is. I mean the hospital sequence.
Hospital sequence is like feels like a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
And you have like Bridget Nielsen, who's like, again, not a great actress, but so 80s as well.
Yeah.
Like you just have so many things going on for it in terms of like a representation
80s.
of the era.
Yeah. Johnny Gunn's great pick. Thank you for making me watch this. It slipped by me. And if I was a kid, I would fucking love this movie. But I do. I can appreciate it now. And the backstory is fascinating. That was a lot of fun. Okay, let's just do some quick what are we watching this week, guys, and we will wrap up. Anybody see anything fun?
I watched Highlander again.
Oh, you did watch the Highlander again. I'm going to watch that again, too, because
we don't need the review, but everybody knows Highlander. It's on Amazon.
We might do
Check it out
a Patreon review of Highlander, because it's a fun movie, and I don't remember it. I need to watch it again.
I'll mention, because I never mention what I'm actually watching.
Yeah, what are you watching?
But this is nothing for me to review.
Yeah.
I'm watching a lot of basketball because it's the NBA playoffs.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, not watching a ton of other stuff because first off, it's nice outside.
Yeah.
It's been Memorial Day weekend, and
you don't have to wear
NBA
masks.
Playoffs.
Everybody's outside.
Everyone's outside doing stuff.
Oh, I have two things I watched.
What's that?
I watched season 3 of Jurassic Park Camp Cretaceous.
Oh, that's still good. Are you still into it?
I'm in.
Huh.
I mean, it's very predictable. It's not like it's super predictable.
Yeah.
It's like these kids, they never die. No matter what happens, they always get out of it. And there's always like, they always think they're going to get off the island. It's like Gilligan's Island. They never get off.
Okay.
And there's just like a dinosaur always trying to eat them. So it's like, it's really, but it's, the characters are, they're growing and they're you know, there is a, I don't know, it's for a kid show. I think it's pretty good.
What do you think of the animation style?
I think it's good. Okay. There's some great stuff in there. Okay. They have like this new dinosaur called the Scorpius Rex.
Okay.
That's pretty freaking there's some terrifying good moments in this. I mean, obviously you never feel like the kids are ever in danger because you know they're never going to kill these kids on a kids TV show. But
it'd be great if they got.
It's fine. I'm having fun. I want more shows like this on Netflix. Like more like, you know, stuff like animation to this level. Because I think the animation is like maybe not quite as good as like what we saw in Love, Death and Robots. But
the dinosaurs look good.
But it's pretty legit. And the second animation that I've been watching is I'm trying to get caught up on the anime train with Demon Slayer, which is the biggest movie that came out this year is Demon Slayer. Yeah, it's like huge anime, manga, all that stuff. And so I watched about 7 episodes of that.
What is that on?
That is on Netflix, and it is dubbed if you don't want to do subtitles.
Demon Slayer Mugen Train.
No, not Mugen Train. Mugen Train's the movie.
The movie has made $448 million worldwide.
The series is on Netflix. So I'm going to watch the series and then watch the movie because the movie is the end cap to the series.
Okay.
So I'm watching and it's basically about this kid in Japan. He's a demon, like wipes out his whole family, and he wants to say he was one sister's left alive and he wants to cure her because she's been turned into a demon. So he now makes it his whole life to like hunt down the demons and try and find out answers and blah, blah, blah. and the animation's really good, and the story's okay. The character's a little annoying, but some of the character has this running monologue the whole time.
Okay.
That like kind of like you're in his head and he's talking to himself like Peter Parker. It's a really, really annoying Peter Parker, like even more annoying than Peter Parker. Like not funny, just like always doubting himself. But it's kind of cool. There's like animation's really great. I'm gonna stick with it. So
the movie, it's the highest grossing film of all time in Japan, the highest grossing anime film and Japanese film of all time, the highest grossing R-rated animated film of all time.
Oh shit.
This fucking movie.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Crazy.
I mean, I'm not like blown away by it. It seems like just the animation is on another level. I think like when you watch a TV show, animation could be kind of like cheap and whatever. They seem to go balls out on these episodes.
Nice. They made $500 million off a $15 million budget.
Yeah, I want to see what's the most popular thing that's out there. I want to see why is it so popular.
This
I'm
thing
trying to
is
get to the bottom.
huge. All right, I watched the big thing this week that was on HBO Max. You may have heard people talking about it. The fucking Friends reunion. Anybody into this at all?
I saw that.
Did you?
Yeah, I saw.
I heard about this all week. Unfortunately, I'm not a Friends guy.
You're not a Friends guy, Ruggs? Did you watch the Friends?
I did.
I love the
watch it.
Friends, and I really thought this reunion was fantastic.
Did you cry, Imran?
It got me teary, and it reminded me of the really funny bits, and you learn a lot of interesting things that I think Friends fans didn't know. And all I know is them trying to help Ross move the sofa and him screaming, "Pivot! Pivot!" is the fucking funniest thing I've ever seen.
It's a
Every
great
time
episode.
I laugh my fucking ass off. What did you think of the overall the production and seeing everyone? I do want to comment on their appearances. I know that's a shallow, shitty thing to do, but you have to.
Yeah.
I only have one comment on their appearances.
Yes.
And it's not my own comment. It's my friend. I'm going to shout him out. Ed. He goes, all of them except one person. I forget who. And he puts a picture
Matt
of
LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc. Yeah, he puts a picture of the that character, the Batman villain that like looks like all different, can turn themselves into all different people.
Yes.
Clayface.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
He's like, this is my reactions to the Friends reunion. Everyone looks like Clayface.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go real quick down the line. Jennifer Aniston still looks phenomenal, but she's had work done. You could tell, right?
Yeah.
Lisa Kudrow still looks okay. She looked really good. Courtney Cox is the most egregious offender of you. Scan their faces.
She was going buck wild with
yes,
that.
when you look at them, you're like, whoa, what happened?
She used to be so gorgeous.
She used to be so pretty on that show. And like, she's done her lips. Okay, so that's the girls. David Schwimmer just looks a little bit older, kind of the same.
Which one's David Schwimmer?
Ross.
Okay.
The funniest was Matt LeBlanc fucking walking in with a big gut and like white hair, and he didn't give a fuck. He's wearing like a big Hawaiian shirt. It's fantastic. And then I think, what's his name? Matthew Perry had a stroke or Bell's palsy before he came on the show because he was a slurry mess. Now,
he was wearing like dentures because I think he had a big drug problem.
He said officially that day he had come from a tooth dental procedure, which is why he was slurring. Yeah, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did, Matthew Perry. That is there's no way that was from just going to the dentist. There was something wrong with him. There was something wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Courtney Cox, I'm looking at these pictures. She's always, not always, but she's definitely had work done throughout her entire career.
But early Friends, she didn't have any. She didn't need it.
Yeah.
Jen Aniston still looks great. So, Ruggs, what'd you think overall? I thought it was great. I thought they did a good job.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was fun. It was a lot of fluff. I like that one girl who was like, "Did you hate anything?" And then he talked about the monkey, and that was funny.
The monkey story was great. And the fact that Schwimmer and Aniston actually had a crush on each other the whole time, and they didn't do anything about it, and they kind of used that in the show. So, but really,
who hooks up with who in the show?
Ross and Rachel. We were on a break, and they break up, and they come back together. And then remember, towards the end, the big thing was Monica and Chandler, of all people.
All right, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
If I watched Friends, if I got into Friends,
Yeah.
or if I tried to get into Friends,
Yeah.
would it still be funny for me? And would it still be fun
absolutely.
to watch?
Without question.
The show is,
Without
it's
question.
fucking hilarious.
It's timeless.
Yeah.
It's
Really?
timeless.
Okay.
And the strength is these specific 6 people in these roles have this chemistry you're never gonna find with any. If anybody
Like,
else was in this, the show would have sucked.
I think you have to give it like a few episodes to like really let the characters grab you. But like once you're in, that's it. Like once you're into the channel, because like the dynamic is you got the bros,
Right.
the bromance,
Yeah.
which is like
Chandler and-
Joey and Chandler.
Yeah, Joey
like
and
they're
Chandler.
these two guys that are completely opposite, but they both like. They're just broy all the time, and they're just being bros. They're just doing whatever, and they're having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Ross, who's kind of like the outsider guy that kind of doesn't really fit in with anybody.
No self-confidence always.
Yeah. And then you have like the girlfriends that they're all this group of friends, but they all coalesce, but the dynamics are funny especially with when they do the thing with they lose the
When
apartment.
they switch the apartment is one of my favorite episodes when they
great.
lose on the quiz. But yeah, it's the 6 of them, man, and like this chemistry they had was unbelievable. And
I'll tell you what,
it's fucking hilarious.
I think because Friends is such a monumental thing that I just never got into.
Yeah.
I might try and watch.
You know
the
how
first
many
couple
episodes there are, though?
A lot.
236. Yes, 200.
I'm
10
Googling it
years.
right now.
It was on for 10 years.
But I mean,
this fucking
it's such an
funny, dude.
iconic
Yes.
thing that I've just never like. It's one of those like Friends, Sopranos,
Seinfeld.
Yeah. Like I never watched.
You got to watch the Friends, dude. I mean, people criticize.
I think it's easier to get into Friends than Seinfeld, but they're both great.
Yeah,
it is. I thought they did a good job on the reunion. So check.
Maybe
that
I'll start
out.
with MASH first.
Oh my God, that's like 11 years of MASH episodes. Jesus fuck.
That's to me. That's impermeable. Like I can't get into MASH.
I used to watch MASH. I used to watch Taxi in reruns.
My dad was a big MASH guy, and I don't even know what MASH. Like it's something about war.
It's
I have no idea what it is.
This medical group during the South Korean War in the 50s.
Yeah, they're like the medevac team.
They're the medevac.
Gotcha.
And it's
is it a drama? Is it a comedy?
It's a comedy drama shot on location in this camp, but it was a half-hour comedy.
Gotcha.
But it was the longest running TV show ever, and it had like the finale. I think had the most people watching a finale ever, like over 100 million people or something watched all at once, and it went out for a long time.
That was one of the biggest watched things ever.
Yeah. So for Friends fans, the reunion is great. Check out Friends. I checked out. There's a historical movie that HBO Max just put out. It's called Oslo, and it is about the Oslo peace accords that happened in 1993 between Israel's Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and PLO Yasser Arafat.
Both men ended up getting killed.
Yes, they did.
For doing that.
He was assassinated. Yes, Yitzhak Rabin assassinated because a militant didn't want him to sign the accords. And I didn't know, this is like 93, and I remember hearing about this. I remember the famous photo of them shaking hands and Bill Clinton's there. I did not know the story of these peace accords. So this is an amazing movie. You know, war movies, obviously compelling, gripping, it's war. They can be shitty, but generally they're good. This is literally a peace movie. And no lie, it is just as fucking compelling as any war movie. It's really good. These talks were done in secret over a period of 6 months, and and especially now that Hezbollah and Israel have escalated in the past, and now there's a truce, you see both sides clearly state their gripes, what they want, how they feel about each other, and it helps you understand the situation. And they did sign these accords for a while. I don't know what happened after. Obviously, it
didn't work.
But this country of Norway, and it was a citizen and a lady in the government that decided we're going to put these people together in a room and just get them to talk. So all we want to do, and it's really good.
What's it called again?
Oslo.
Gotcha.
So if you enjoyed, I would also recommend Chernobyl on HBO Max. If you enjoy stuff like that, you're going to love that. And then the last thing I wanted to recommend on Apple TV Plus, they have a documentary series. It's about music from the year that music changed everything. Not the year that changed music. The tagline is the year music changed everything. And it's called 1971. Now, I had no idea how many huge fucking shifts in music happened in 1971. This documentary is fucking fascinating.
Now I want to watch it.
For example, just a few of the things happened in 1971. The Beatles break up.
Right.
John Lennon writes Imagine. The armed guards at Kent State shoot 4 kids. Neil Young writes Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Marvin Gaye's brother is in Vietnam and I think dies. Marvin Gaye writes What's Going On. Okay, and it goes on and on. It goes on to this was the death of the hippie movement. Literally, because that year Jim Morrison dies. The year before, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix die. The 60s are dead, and it talks about how the music sprang into different, like on one side, you had Alice Cooper suddenly show up, giving people early Marilyn Manson, scary shit, right? That they didn't understand. And then you had it branch off into the Osmonds in pop music. Fascinating documentary about 1971. I had no idea. And then that's not even to mention the rise of the singer-songwriters, Carly Simon, James Taylor, Cat Stevens, all these people, disco, rock and roll, everything. This is a fucking fascinating documentary.
I want to check this out now. Jesus, that's right up my alley.
Yeah, I didn't know how 1971 was so huge, and it was. Like, it's a time when literally, like, the Beatles.
I love music docs, especially if they're good.
The last time when, like, all the Beatles are alive, all the Rolling Stones have to flee England because of taxes. They go to France and they record fucking Exile at Main Street, one of, like, the best classic rock albums of all time. 1971.
Wow.
So, great. And there's so many more things. Check it out. Apple TV Plus.
Sold.
Okay, good. Those are good, solid recommendations. Listen, that's it. Anything else anybody want to shout out?
Oh, we got no news for the nation?
No, there really wasn't much. I'm skipping it.
Oh, okay.
Fuck the nation.
Fuck the nation.
Oh,
That's
Jesus.
what Imran has to
Fuck
say
that
about
show.
that. Fuck the nation.
Listen,
Imran.
there's always plenty of time for the nation.
Wow. All these people support us, and you just don't care about them.
Oh, I care. I care too much. Like Marion Cobra.
Can we just make up stuff? Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
Ron Hahn says, yeah.
Wes Cranford says, hey, guys, I was out boarding on my parasailing thing out on the ocean, and I forgot to read more here. What? That's all he got.
Wes Cranford. I was riding a whale
Cranford.
in Australia, and I was thinking about...
I was riding an orca.
I was riding an orca, and I thought, has Batman ever done this? Yeah, we can make up stuff. Nobody knows. Look, it'll be back.
David Zika writes in, I found this rare 1970s film about an armadillo who becomes a mutant and destroys Tokyo. You should check it out.
Really not that bad. Production could use some work, but actually the story's really good.
That's an actual post. Oh, my
It's
God.
Godzilla.
That's a real post. Look, join the Facebook group. You'll get a shout out on the show. News for the Nation will return next week. I love everyone in the nation. Keep posting things.
We have to shout out Lisa Morrison, too. The Morrisons, all the Morrisons that listen to us. There's a lot of them. There's more Adam Morrison.
There's Adam Morris, Lisa Morrison.
Oh, Adam Morris. There's all the Morrises.
Oh, yeah. Adam Morris writes in, so guys, the particles that eject from your asshole during a fart can permeate your eyeballs.
We have a fart post.
But not an N95 mask.
Yeah, so that is why you get pink eye when you shart on someone.
And not coronavirus.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a fart post in the nation.
Who are we forgetting? You're forgetting Seth Morgan?
We're
there's
gonna
so many people.
There's so many. We're going to forget somebody.
No, there's at least 6.
We love you all.
Shit.
Oh, they're going to stop listening after this now.
Yeah, everyone's so pissed off after the end of this one.
We're just busting balls, you bastards. You know. Ruggs, where can the listener find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ReallyRugBoy. That's where you contact me. Don't send me any other messages on any other platforms but that.
Not fans, only fans or anything? No? Okay.
No, I shut that down.
Okay, good.
I tried to do something with my butthole, and now I had to get it stitched together. I got stitches in my anus.
Yikes. All right, well, that's a good place to end. Listeners, subscribe to the show. Share it with your friends. Join the Facebook group. Do all the stuff. Just have a good day and be nice to each other. Thanks for listening to the Jock and Nerd Podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the Nerd.
We'll peep you next time.
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Be more funny.
What the fuck is going on?
Get your hand off my penis!